everybody to the workshop. Welcome, Billo community. I'm really glad to welcome you to the event today. I am Seth McCoy, and I'll be your host for this Billo Creator Masterclass. The Billo Creator Masterclass is a workshop series, of course, focusing on content creation topics, including both the technical aspects and soft skills like creativity. It's my honor to introduce to you Ethan Corbett, who is our speaker for today. He is known for his positive personality and supportive attitude. Ethan was born and raised in Southern California. And from early on, he knew that he had a love for being in front of people and performing. When his career as an actor started, he wanted to find a day job that was flexible, fun, and of course, creative. And that's when he discovered Billo. In today's masterclass, Ethan will cover shooting, winning angles and lighting, product, striking product placement and framing practices, and of course, preparation, aspect ratios, and shooting in the dark. With the whole team at Billo, we really hope that you'll find this content useful. I'd now like to hand over to our speaker to start sharing his knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, Ethan Corbett.
Hello, everyone. How's it going? Again, my name is Ethan. I've been a content creator for Billo for almost 6 months now. I love it, and I'm excited to share my knowledge with you all. Something to keep in mind while I am talking with you guys is I will always be bringing up the same theme: be unique, be you. A small amount of extra effort can really make your videos stand out. And something on that seems on the surface level pretty basic um, could just add a little bit more spice to your videos. And we'll talk a little bit more about adding spice to your videos throughout the entire course. So that being said, I prepared a few videos because I think it would get the point across a little bit better if I show you rather than just talking to you guys. So that being said, let's start out with the basics. Angles and lighting. Now, angles and lighting are probably the most important part of video creation. If the camera is set at an awkward angle, people won't be engaged with your video. Plus, it's not very flattering. And if the setting isn't lit properly, well, we just won't be able to see you or the product very clearly. So how do we set up our camera and lighting to make sure we get the best possible shot? When setting up your camera, it is important to have a steady shot. This can easily be achieved by using a tripod, but if you don't have a tripod or you don't have the budget for a tripod, a stack of boxes and books can do just fine, although I don't really recommend it. Once you have your camera steady, it is important to know where the lens is. If you are talking to the camera, for example, you should always have the lens at eye level. This helps the viewer engage with your eyes through the lens. Plus, it gives you room to play with tilting the camera up or down to get the perfect shot. But none of these angles mean anything if you can't see what is going on in the shot. So let's talk about lighting. Sometimes to a new creator, lighting can seem like a daunting task, but it's really quite simple when you get the basics down. Start out with a simple light hitting your face. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just enough light to be able to see you and or the product. Keep in mind not to have the light too high or too low. Find the right light for your face. I find for me personally, the best possible lighting is setting the light a little bit over my eye line and aiming it directly to the middle of my forehead. That way I get a nice, even glow over my face. But say you want to go a little bit further and take your lighting to the next level. I like to add a second light behind me at an angle, hitting my back shoulder to help separate me from the background. This helps to add depth to your video and is overall more pleasing to the eye. Personally, I'll go the extra mile and add a third colored light distant in the background, and I'll even go as far as changing the color so it matches the color of the product I am holding. But say all of this is way too fancy for you. That is totally okay. A large window with indirect sunlight shining through will do just fine. So I chose to focus a little bit more on the talking to the camera aspect of lighting and angles, mostly because for the most part, if you're creating a product video, companies are going to want you, the user, um, to be in the shot as well while talking about the product. Like, say, I'm talking about these melatonin gummies. They want to see you with the product. It gives it like a little bit more genuine feel. Um, and and we'll talk a little bit more about it later, but about shooting directly towards the product. But as for now, that is all I have for finding the right angles and using lighting to your advantage. So go ahead and take it away, Seth.
Hey, thanks for that, Ethan. Now, I'm really hoping that you're finding these hands-on videos very useful, everyone. Please remember that if you still have some questions, please put them into the chat. Now, Ethan, could we move to a couple of tricks you use for amazing product placement and framing?
Yes, of course. Now we're getting to the good part, or my favorite part. Getting the right shot for your products is key to making the perfect product video. If the product isn't clear in your video, then no one's going to know what it is you're talking about. So I'm going to show you a few things that I like to do for placing products in my videos. For any product shot that is talking to the camera or holding the product, it's pretty simple. So say I'm, again, talking about these melatonin gummies. I simply hold it in my hand and talk to the camera and make sure it's clearly visible to the lens. Uh, and it's pretty simple. Like, that kind of stuff is really simple, but that only gets you so far. Companies want you to show the best parts about their products in beautifully detailed fashion. So let me show you some of my favorite ways to show off a product. Product placement and framing. There are plenty of ways to show off products in your videos, but I'm going to talk about 3 of my favorites. The first one we're going to talk about is the POV. The POV shot works beautifully for small products like wallets, rings, trinkets, vitamins and supplements. The list goes on. The POV is the best way to show the product in your hands, and it's super easy to set up. Start out by finding a clean background. I personally have a set of backdrops that do wonders, but a clean sheet or a solid colored wall will do just fine as long as there's nothing in the background to distract from the product. Also, make sure there is plenty of light so you can perfectly showcase the product. Next, set up your camera on a tripod facing your clean background, then simply place your arms on either side of the camera. Hold the product in your hands and record. As you can see, this kind of shot really showcases the finer details of the product. It gives off a tactile feeling, almost as if the viewers were holding the product themselves. The POV is a great base for all of your product shots, and we're going to talk about a few others that are kind of like the POV, just a little different. The next type of shot we're going to talk about is like the POV, just has a slight perspective shift. The next shot we're going to talk about is what I call the unboxing shot. Sometimes you'll receive a product that a company asks for a particular shot, like an unboxing shot, or the product contains a bunch of little trinkets inside, so you need to do an unboxing video to really showcase what the viewer is going to get if they get the product. I like to start out on a clean, flat surface like a table, desk, or even the floor. You can achieve a cleaner look if you lay down a backdrop, but a sheet or cloth will do just fine. Sometimes I even like to choose a surface that kind of fits the vibe of the product to try and give it a little extra spice that we keep talking about. Position a tripod next to your setting and angle the camera down. Then set up your lights to evenly brighten your product. Then set your product in the frame and you're ready to go. This setup is my favorite way to showcase things like subscription boxes, which come with lots of little trinkets. This way the viewer can see exactly what they would get out of the product, and the company will be more than happy with the result. This next shot that we're going to be talking about is probably my favorite way to shoot a product. In today's age of the internet, where Instagram Reels, TikTok, and smartphones are taking over, you're going to see a lot more vertical format videos when you're scrolling on your phone. We're going to touch a little more on vertical video formats a little later, but for now, just keep in mind that this particular shot works best in the vertical format. And this shot is what I like to call the big feeling. Basically, 100% of the time, the company's going to want a hero shot of the product, a shot that really grabs the attention of the viewers, and the big feeling shot is the perfect way to do that. The big feeling shot is a lot like the POV, but you flip it on its head, and you'll get what I mean by that in a second. Start out by building your setup a lot like the POV: backdrop, lights, tripod. And with most videos being vertical these days, this is the type of shot that you would normally get. Looks pretty decent, right? Well, what if I told you we can get something even better? Try taking your phone and flip it so it is now upside down. Angle it up towards your product, and this is what you get. I love to use this type of shot for tall or slender products. It gives a subconscious grandiose feeling to the video. It feels bigger, and the viewers feel it too. This is what we had before, and this is what we have now. All right. Uh, so those are a few ways that you can stand out from the crowd when filming your products. I always like to go a little bit of the extra mile when I make my product videos because, if the company enjoys your video, they'll come back to you to make more videos. And sometimes your repertoire of all your great looking product videos can get you more work. And I always think it just takes a little bit of extra effort. My favorite shot that I've probably ever done was the candle shot near the end with the hot coffee, the coffee beans going up, and I kind of just like accidentally figured out how to do that. One of my favorite things to do, I had trouble figuring out how to get the candle to sit. I knew I wanted it to be on top of a mound of coffee because it was a coffee scented candle, and I was like, how am I going to be able to do this? So I luckily earlier happened to go to Chipotle that day, and I grabbed one of those, they have those little salsa cups, the clear salsa cups, and I happened to have it. I cleaned it out, and it made the perfect kind of stand. And now I use it all the time for my products because sometimes, like, how can you get something that's clean and that is sturdy enough to hold products and stuff like that? And that was like something really interesting. So I always encourage people to think outside the box because you never know when you're what's going to work unless you just try it. And so that's all I really have to say about that kind of stuff. So thank you for the question, Seth. And go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, no, not a problem. Those are some really, really great insights, especially the unboxing setup and, of course, the point of view as well. Just adding those little additional touches to help things like match the color, right, of that product to really help it pop and stand out. I mean, really, really fantastic gems there. Now, kind of transitioning to sort of our next topic here, let's talk about aspect ratios and shooting in the dark, and maybe even some extra tech notes that you may have.
Yes, definitely. Basically, when a company approaches you and asks you to make a product video, they usually have an intended market in mind, which is whether it be on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is. And on each of those platforms, the aspect ratio of your videos are going to be different. For example, a product video intended for TikTok the video is going to be in a vertical 9:16 aspect ratio, just like your phone, 9:16. Whereas a video on Instagram could vary depending on how the video will be presented on the platform. It could be a 9:16 vertical aspect ratio, or for Instagram stories, um, or 9:16 aspect ratio for Instagram stories, or a 4:5 aspect ratio for Instagram feeds. And sometimes it could even be a 1:1 square video for Instagram. It all really depends on what the company wants. The company will usually tell you exactly what aspect ratio they want, but I am going to show you a few tricks that I use to make sure you get the best shot. I spoke a little bit earlier about how most of your product videos in today's age of the internet are going to be vertical. So we're going to be focusing more on the vertical format in this section. For some, comprehending aspect ratios can be confusing, but it's really not when you really like get the hang of it, or if you have like an editing software that can do it for you. But when you film on your camera, it is always by default a 9:16 aspect ratio. And I know for myself that when I first became a content creator, there were times when I filmed all of my footage only to find that in the edit, once I cropped for a different aspect ratio that the company asked for, I or myself or the product wouldn't be in the frame properly, and I would have to reshoot the entire video because it just didn't work. It was always a headache if I had to go back and redo the entire video. However, in my trial and error, I figured out a way to prevent mistakes. So let me show you another video on that. Aspect ratios and cropping. Here are some of my go-to tricks to make sure that you and or the product always fit into the frame no matter the aspect ratio. If you look at your phone and pull up the camera, usually by default this is what the interface looks like. Pretty normal. What I'd like you to do is to go to your settings, scroll down to camera, and under the composition section, turn on your grid option. As you can see, I now have the grid over the interface of my camera. This helps me so much with framing the product, making sure it is centered or positioned the right way, but especially helps me out with planning ahead for aspect ratio cropping. Sometimes a company may ask you to make a video that can be cropped into different aspect ratios depending on what social media platform they want to post it on. To avoid having to do multiple shots of the same product, I'm going to show you how to do it all in one swoop. The first step is to make sure your camera is shooting in 4K. Usually by default, the camera on your phone will be shooting in 1080p, but to change it to 4K, simply tap the top right corner of your camera interface and change it to 4K. This makes it possible to crop and edit your videos without losing the quality of your video. Once you're in 4K, you can still do the same setup you usually do to do a product video, just set the camera a little further back than usual, so then you can crop in, adjust, and plan accordingly. Once you're in 4K, you can still do the same setup you usually would for a product video, just set the camera a little bit further away. As you can see, I can now set this same video to different aspect ratios without any extra effort. Another thing to note is all videos on social media don't have to be over 1080p to appear high quality, because most people will be viewing it on their laptops or smartphones. So shooting in 4K isn't necessarily needed unless you're going to be zooming in or cropping like how I showed you. As far as shooting in the dark, I feel like you can apply the same techniques I spoke about earlier when it comes to lighting. But say you have only one light I recommend you invest in a backdrop of some sort. On Amazon, they have like the folding ones, so you're easy for storage or anything like that. Or you can film it in front of a solid wall. So then you can fill the entire screen with something. Um, if you only have one light and you film in the middle of the room, your background will be dim or completely dark, kind of like how you see it behind me right now. This isn't really something that they necessarily like for like a product video. They just want something so that people know like what's going on, so they can see clearly like what you're holding or you. So it'll just look like you're a floating body in dark space. So I believe having some sort of colored background to fill the screen is better than anything. Um, as long as you can see yourself in the product clearly without any dramatic shadows, you'll do just fine. But before we wrap things up, I want to talk a little bit about my process on how I prepare for making a video. Um, before First things first, I the moment I get contacted by a company about doing a video, I write out or when I get contacted by a company, I write out a script and plan out my shots. Usually, a company will tell you what they want you to focus on, like certain aspects of the product, like, oh, hey, talk about how clean and soft this shirt feels, or talk about um, how it fits around your arms, or something like that. Um, so I like to just write my script out, um, write out the shots that I know I'm going to get. Um, and so I have everything ready to go before I even receive the product. So I'll write the script, plan the shots. Like it's like, is it going to be an unboxing video, or is it going to be a POV, or just talking to the camera? What will my B-roll shots be? And for those of you who don't know what B-roll is secondary footage. You usually use it as cutaway footage to provide context about what you are talking about. But basically, all my videos that you saw today had B roll. So, me sitting here talking to you guys would be considered A roll or principal roll. And anytime I cut away for to me providing an example, would be considered B roll or secondary footage. Um, and I think B-roll is a really great way just to to provide examples to viewers, because you could talk to people all day, but unless you're showing them what the product does, or cool details about the product, they're not going to really truly understand what you're talking about. But anyway, I'll plan it all out, and the moment the product arrives at my door, it's all a matter of opening the box and shooting the video. It makes things so much easier on yourself, and you'll be able to keep things organized better for yourself. And yeah, I think that's all I really have to talk about today. So, Seth, if you want to come back.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Listen, such a great couple of points to end it on. So first and foremost, thanks for this really great presentation. For the ones watching, if you found it interesting, it's your time to let Ethan know that. So I'm really hoping that everyone has taken at least one new thing from the talk today. All right, so now I think it's time to turn to our Q&A session, as we have a few more, excuse me, as we have actually more than a few questions from our guests here. All right, so for our first question, well, first, are you ready, Ethan? They have some tough ones here for you. Our first question from the chat. Um, so what if it is clothing or a hat? How would you show it off and talk about it?
Well, usually, I actually just did a product video the other day for t-shirts. Usually what I would do is it's usually a talking to the camera shot, and I'll be wearing, say it's a t-shirt, like say it's this shirt, I would be wearing it, because a lot of the time the company just wants to see you they just want to like they want people to see you wearing the product and seeing how it fits on you. So I'll be wearing it and I'll do a talking to the camera shot. I'll be like, wow, this shirt, like, it feels so soft, it's comfortable, it's breathable, and I really love how it fits like around my arms. Like some people like that, especially, yeah, like companies that they're like, oh yeah, talk about how it fits on your body. And sometimes I'll add a little bit of B-roll. Like if I'm talking about it, I'll do another shot of me standing so you can see the entire thing. And as I'm talking about how it's breathable and comfortable, I'll cut to a B-roll of me just kind of like putting it on. Or if it's like a shirt or hat or accessory, I'll like maybe even sometimes do like put together like a few outfits with it to show it. You can show what you can do with it. So that will be my B-roll. So sometimes it's kind of like a fun little fashion show that I like to do. So yeah, that's how I would shoot a clothing piece for sure.
That's all right. That's great here. I have another question for you, and actually, this is in response to your upside down shot here. So, can the upside down shot be achieved by just moving the camera down and then tilting it up?
In some way, in some instances, yes. But the way that your phone is shaped, um, when you film like this, it just changes the angle a little bit. Um, you get a different shot if you flip it upside down. Just trust me on that. It like because I've tried just going lower, but the way that the phone shoots, it changes it completely when you flip it upside down because you get this like something about the shape of the lens like being that low to the ground and looking up. It changes the shot completely. I think the way the lens like kind of bends the image when you do it upside down because it's not built to shoot upside down, so it kind of changes the look of it. um, so yeah, um, you can almost get it, but not quite.
Awesome. This next one we have here is in regards to aspect ratios. So, how do you crop for an aspect of 1:1 or 4:5?
So me personally, when I wonder if they mean how do I plan ahead for that, or how I do it in the edit. Maybe that's what you're asking. I'll answer both. So if you see right here on my phone, I don't know if you can see it, but there's like little grids and stuff like that. So say if it was going to be a 1:1, I would shoot the phone horizontally because you already know it's going to be a square if it's a 1:1. I would shoot with the phone horizontally, and you can already see this right here is going to be your height for the square, and you only have to fit it in. So say like right here, you can see it right there. So you can already tell like this height is going to be my square. So my face fits in the entire square. For 4:5, I would just shoot um, vertically, but you know that when you crop it into 4:5, it's gonna zoom in the image a little bit because of the aspect ratio. So just um, plan for keeping it further away when if you're planning for a 4:5 ratio. And how I edit it, actually, most of the time, I use an editing software on my phone called Video Shop. So let me show you that real quick. So right here, I'll show you real quick. So right here, you can see I use Video Shop, and here's like a dog tag that I was shooting in a 16:9 in 4K because the company wanted to be able to make different aspect ratio videos for that video. Um, and there's a resize option that you click, and they have literally all the aspect ratios for TikTok, for Instagram. They're labeled, and it's all right there. You just like watch this. I click it for TikTok. It changes it already. And then I just zoom it in and center the image. And then it's ready for TikTok. That's 9 by 16. And uh, but say you don't have editing software, you can literally do it on your phone. On your phone, if you go to edit, when you're looking at the photos, you click edit. And let me just show you again. I hope you guys can see it. This is a good thing to add to the next masterclass. So let's see. So see this video right here. It was shot in 16:9, and you click edit, and there's a crop thing right there, a crop button, and on the top right, you click that. It has like these little squares and stuff like that. Don't know if you can see that, but then it has all the aspect ratios in the bottom already on your phone. So like I can crop it to, and if it's going to be a vertical crop, you click the vertical button like that, and now it's ready for Instagram. That's a 4:5. Or if you need it for a 9:16, there you go. It's easy. So you can do it in your phone already. But I like to use editing software because it just makes it quicker and faster. So yeah. Next question.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ethan. As I'm pulling up this next question here, can you kind of go into more details in regards to when you choose to shoot in the dark? And are there other lighting techniques that you use to get the best shot?
Well, sometimes I choose to shoot in the dark, or sometimes I don't have a choice. Sometimes life gets in the way, and sometimes I have to shoot in the dark. Actually, for the most part, I probably do shoot in this room, in like a dark room. I just do my lighting techniques that I did, but say, really, I only really shoot in the dark. I choose to shoot in the dark only if the product has some sort of light feature or anything like that. Because it's typically easier to shoot during the day if you don't have a lot of lights. Because if you just have a big window, you can just open up the window and like shoot towards that, and maybe have like a lamp or something like that. But me personally, because I have the equipment, which I suggest any content creator invest in some lights. I personally have like 4 or 5 lights. I only ever really use maybe 2. But I personally find it easier to shoot at night or in a dark room because you can control the lights, and you can you can set it to exactly how you want it. I don't know if I answered the question because I didn't understand the question, but I
Yeah,
hope
that was
I answered
perfect.
it. I
Yeah,
hope I answered
absolutely.
it. But
Y-
yeah,
Yeah, no, that was great. Are you okay with one more question
yeah.
before we wrap?
I'm totally fine. Yeah.
All right, great. I think this is from your example from your phone here. So this question asks, how about the tasks for apps? The, Monica says that she never signs up for those because she doesn't understand how to make an effective video for that.
Hmm. Oh, so you're talking about, oh, okay, a task on the Billo app for like a product video for an app.
Right.
Gotcha. What I personally like to do whenever I get a any like basically any product video that there's no physical product, it's all like a digital product, like an app or a service or something like that. I like to go. I like to download the app, um, and uh, I like to download the app, and I screen record me using the app. For example, if it's um, a digital service like auto insurance, something like that, and it's an app for auto insurance. I will download the app and screen record me going through the motion, like trying to get a quote or something like that. And I will talk about the points that the company wants me to talk about. And then I'll do the talking to the camera, and then I'll do B-roll of my screen recording that I took of the app. And yeah. So that's what I would do. If there's any more questions, I'm down to answer more. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that was great. It seems like that is all that we are able to cover today. And with that, I do want to thank you, Ethan, so much for sharing your knowledge here. All right. So please, everyone, stay tuned for more of the Billo Creator Masterclasses coming really soon. Ethan, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you guys so much for having me, and I hope it was helpful. And yeah, thank you guys.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us.